We're trying to come up with a definition for what is a conservative, kind of like the what is a woman question, ironically, but I don't think we really have an answer for that.
And I don't think you're going to be able to do that unless you have reference to well, from my angle, God and
Absolutely.
Christ and Christianity
I 100%
specifically.
agree with you on that.
Yeah, because if we don't know, if God, there's this wonderful line in the Second Vatican Council, I think it's Gaudium et Spes, that says, when God is forgotten, the creature itself grows unintelligible. So if there is no God, then what are we and what are we for? It seems like, well, we are what? The result of time plus matter plus chance. We've evolved in this way. What are we for? Well, for has to do with teleology, and that doesn't seem to make sense, at least in a mind-independent way. So I guess we're for whatever we choose, and if you don't start with God and Christ, I don't know how you get anywhere worth getting.
Well, I think that's the perfect image of where we are right now in America. Even in a more conservative realm of how we live our lives, we've been operational so secularly for so long that we have become unintelligible. We can't even answer the question, what is a woman in our society, which is the biggest joke of our time, arguably. But we certainly can't tackle some of the biggest human rights issues that we're dealing with, abortion and what's happening with the border and continued crime rising in all of our cities. This is a huge problem that I don't know that we have the right answer for how to solve quite yet, because we've lost that first step in the journey.
But what has been encouraging to me is how many people, maybe of your generation, are embracing conservative Christianity. And they don't want to be pandered to. They don't want like a concert. They don't want a like entertaining speech. This is lovely. I really like. I enjoy talking about the distinction, the differentiation between our generations, because just before we went live, you helped me post something to Instagram because I didn't know how to do that. And you asked, should I post it to your stories? And I said, I don't know what that means, and it feels like when I grew up, it was very much about rebelling against the man, and sticking it to authority. Where it feels like one of the reasons Jordan Peterson has been so successful is he seems to be saying, no, let's go back to tradition in a way. I don't agree with everything he says, of course, but let's go back to the way, to time-tested traditions and hierarchy. And so I'm seeing this like eagerness and this determination and zeal on like my son, Thursday, you, others who are as passionate about our country and conservative. I don't like the word values. I think values sounds sort of epistemologically relative. I like morals or truth, facts,
that.
But you're as passionate about that as I was about like Metallica and giving the middle finger to anybody for no particular reason. And it's kind of cool.
What's funny to think about, Matt, is that is our version of that, though. Like if you think about the cyclical nature of history throughout all of humanity, every young generation has always shared this common denominator of wanting to rebel against the people in charge. And sometimes that's looked like the free spirit hippie movement when society was so structured and was so gridlocked. I think now we're on the opposite side of that. Our version of Metallica or Stick It to the Man is to rebel against the people in power. And if you look at every single cultural institution in our country today, the church, entertainment, education, politics, our government, every aspect of our life is very loudly controlled by the radical, secularized, authoritarian left. So the only way to truly rebel against society and stick it to the man, so to speak, is to embrace traditional values, to fall in love, to get married, to start families, to embrace very traditional Christianity. I think most people don't know this because we assume Gen Z is this hyper atheist, godless generation. Believe me, spending a lot of time in politics, I hear the phrase, your generation is destroying America 20,000 times a day, which is just so far from the truth.
If it were the truth, it would be our fault.
Thank you.
It wouldn't be your fault.
Thank you, Matt. You have very much a big brain attitude on this. But nobody wants to admit that. Anyway, I digress. The interesting thing is, 2 years ago in 2021, only a quarter of Gen Zers said that they believed in any higher power.
Okay.
Only a quarter. Today, 2 years later, it's over a third that say we proudly believe in God, and Gen Z is the most likely generation to prefer the traditional Latin Mass. We do not want fog machines and rock concerts and drummers in cages and, okay, everybody text Jesus to 54565 and close your eyes and raise your hand if you accepted Jesus today. We want reverence. We want tradition. We want the beauty of our history, our generational story of what it means to be Christian Christian that I think we can really only find in the church.
Here's an analogy. When I bought this house here in Steubenville, there was shag carpet everywhere. White shag carpet in the dining room. The
dining room, that's rough.
And then there was a big bit of plastic, see-through plastic around the table. I thought this... Anyway, we ripped up all this disgusting carpet, and there was, of course, beautiful wood floors underneath.
Yeah.
You're like, whoever came up with this is the same people who thought liturgical abuse was a good idea. Like, why would you make everything ugly?
And that's exactly what society has done. I think it's been, to some degree, so accepting and so normal in many ways to be a Protestant Christian in America that it's become this anything goes, very half in, half out, secularized cultural Christianity.
It's like an Americanized view of Christianity.
If you travel to any other country in the world, it is not like this.
The cross means slightly more than the flag. That kind of feeling. I'm not saying anyone's saying that, but you do get that sense. As an Australian,
I would actually go so far as to beg to differ with the opposite. I think many American Protestant Christians, namely evangelical Christians, have started to have this reverence for the flag that does supersede the cross. I talk about this with my fiance all the time. He was raised Southern Baptist. He's now in RCIA and is becoming Catholic this spring, which I'm very excited for him about. But we've noticed with a lot of our friends, as he's been really open about his journey and so excited to join the church and learning more about our history as Christians throughout the last 2,000 years, many of our friends from the political world that we're kind of still involved with tangentially are having this reverence, this respect, this veneration for the founding fathers of our country that they do not have for the founding fathers of our church. In fact, they try to say, Peter was just a guy and he's dead, so we shouldn't pay attention to him anyway. Or Mary, the mother of God, is just an ordinary person. She's dead, so you shouldn't even be talking to her anyway. She's not listening to you. There's this beautiful reverence and respect for traditional conservative values and for the founding fathers of our country that I think American conservatism secularly has nailed down very beautifully. But then you remotely try to bring tradition with a capital T into the conversation or the story of us as a church. And it's almost this like visceral, angry response from so many American Christians that I'm seeing because we've blended tradition so much with the secular side of things. We can't recognize it in the church anymore.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.